Good morning. This is Soul School Network for Sunday, September the 15th. Welcome. And today we are here to speak about who is your enemy. And I look forward to an interesting conversation. And so I welcome those who are joining us through the recording to be with us live next time and be part of the conversation. We welcome your feedback. We welcome ideas from our attendees on future guests. Michelle has offered a couple of ideas, which I really appreciate, Michelle. Thank you. And others, we welcome your thoughts as we want to have a conversation that delves into the topics that are on your mind, the ones that would serve you best. And so while we offer up ideas, we know that you have some that we would love to hear from you. So, who is your enemy? I'd like to just start out by reading a little poem from Yogananda Harmony.
Susan, shouldn't we have Koryanka start with the meditation?
Oh, thank you. You see, I need your help. Thank you so much. Koryanka, are you up for giving the meditation this morning?
Yes, for sure.
Perfect.
Thank you,
Let's do
Michael,
that.
for reminding. Let's
Yeah, keeping us on
start.
track, Michael. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes, we can then relax our gaze and you can close your eyes so that we go within for a relaxing, grounding meditation. We're going to take a deep breath through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth, and one third time. And first, we're going to start scanning our bodies for any tension that there might be, starting at the head. We'll just observe without making any judgment out of it. Scan the crown of your head and the back of your head. Scan your face and neck and your shoulders. One arm all the way down to the hands. The other arm and hand. Now your back, from the neck all the way down to the final bone of the spine. You can focus your attention now on your chest and your abdomen. Are there any sensations so far, any muscle tension? We're going to just observe this for now. Continue with your right leg and foot and the left leg as well, and foot. Wherever you found tension, let it go gently by visualizing that it is a white cloud that slides down your body all the way to your feet, leaving your body through the soles of the feet. Perhaps there will be many clouds of tension leaving your body, and that is just perfect. You're letting them go, and you can feel good about that. Once tension is out of your body, it will be gone and transformed into life-giving energy. Let's take a deep, relaxing breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. and let it feel good. You can stretch your body, make sure you are comfortable. You are a beloved child of the earth, deeply connected to her. Notice how your feet are planted on the ground, either physically or energetically at all times. Feeling the earth with the soles of your feet. Feel how your energy grows and extends itself from the soles of your feet towards Mother Earth. You are growing energetic roots that go into the moist, rich soil under your feet, uniting you with the Mother, receiving nourishment and love from her. The more your roots extend and go deeper and deeper into the earth, the more you feel deeply grounded and held in love by Mother Earth. Stay present in this moment. Remain grounded and present in this moment. Grounded and present. Grounded and present. You can gently go back to your breathing, in through the nose, out through the mouth. One more time, in through the nose, out through the mouth. You can slowly open your eyes when it feels good to you, and you can move your body slowly as you come back. Hmm.
Thank you very much, Priyanka. That was beautiful. And I'm pleased to be more grounded. Maybe I'll be more in line with the order of the day. For those of you who wish, Koryanka's meditation is recorded to music and it is on the Soul School Network website if you would like to listen to it at another time. Yeah, so here we go. Who is your enemy? And with the way of the world, I'm sure that people could offer up a whole bunch of ideas about who that is. Funny that it's who that is. So I'm going to just launch the conversation with reading this. It's the lyrics of Desire, My Great Enemy, as just some food for the conversation. Desire, my great enemy, with his soldiers surrounding me, is giving my lots of trouble, O my Lord. That enemy I will deceive, remaining in the castle of peace, night and day in thy joy, O my Lord. What will be my fate? O Lord, tell me. Pranayam be thy religion. Pranayam will give thee salvation. Pranayam is the wishing tree. Control that little pranayam. Become all-pervading pranayam. You won't have to fear anything anymore. So, desire, one possibility for the conversation. And as the host, I turn it over to whoever would like to begin the conversation. Who might that be?
Oh, well, I'll start. I would say to build on desire, I always consider my greatest enemy is myself, which is the shadow self, and so what I look for is when I observe a person or something that makes me angry or one of the other vices, I then try to analyze in them what's in me that they're basically reflecting that I don't like about myself. And it's generally your desires, right? It's your weaknesses as a person. And so for me, the enemy is always the internal side. It's these demons and such that we're fighting, trying to cleanse ourselves of our egos or our shadows. But it's interesting because you can extend that fractally upward. If you look at what's going on in the world right now, all these enemies really are just reflections of the shadows of our societies that mass consciousness is projecting out there. So it always comes down to the internal work for me.
Dan, can you eliminate your enemies, therefore?
You can't eliminate them. What you do is you transform them. Because the thing that we're stuck here in this consciousness is we're stuck in duality. And for those of the, we've talked a little bit about entheogenic medicines before. And even within those, you still generally are stuck within the duality of this dimensional awareness. But there are ways to go to what's called unity consciousness. And it's if you can get to the higher dimensions, you start to realize that the good and the bad are really just the same side. They're just two sides of the same coin. And so it's just a frequency thing. So you never defeat your enemy. You embrace them and you transform them and find the goodness and the light in there, because it really is just that darkness is just a low vibration. And once you understand the genius in it, you can raise the vibration and there's something that really beautiful comes out of it.
And your, therefore, enemy is your friend.
Yes. Because we're all one, we're all the same. They're just reflections of different things. But it's to move beyond that. And you have to move beyond the ego and yourself to see that. And that's definitely a multi-life journey, to say the least. There I started. I'm gonna let my caffeine hit my veins now.
That's pretty good, Dan, given the hour of the day where you are. Thank you for that. Who would like to continue?
I'd like to. Thinking about what you read about desire. Desire to me actually is not bad, and is all about where it's coming from, if it's going to be in our benefit or not. And I don't think in terms of enemy, but desire specifically to me can be an instrument of the divine. It's actually a way of communication to show us what is the soul's path for us and what we are here to do here on earth. So desire can be showing us the way, and it's like a map, a roadmap for us. But that is if the desire is coming from the soul. Of course, it can also be a desire based on the ego. And that's when we run into trouble, because that takes us away from our true self and from our sacred calling and everything that we are here to be and do in service. So that would be the only thing that we need to be discerning of and be really clear about. Where is the desire coming from? Is it coming from the soul, or is it coming from the ego? And that would be the major thing for me, to be able to distinguish that at any given moment. When it comes to the enemy, I don't really think that there is an enemy. Yes, there are forces wanting to use us, take us in a different direction of the soul and of our highest good. Some beings that have their own agenda and don't care about what they can be doing to us in an attempt to get what they want. And basically, to them, maybe we're just kind of like objects that are to be used and disposed of. But that doesn't mean that they are our enemy. It's just that we are not in the same frequency, and they are working with a different mindset, I would say. But whatever that is being done, that could be done, that could cause damage to us, that could be against us, if we want to put it in those terms, like Dan said, yes, that can actually serve us well. It's for us to become really resourceful, and for us to discover how we can go around this and transform the experience into an opportunity for growth, and for us to be stronger and thriving beings here on earth and beyond. So it actually presents a challenge, but it can be a good challenge and an opportunity, whatever they're throwing at us. We just need to be very creative and really find that inner strength, and the connection with the soul needs to be so strong that we find our way around anything, even if it's the darkest dark that there can be out there for us. We're seeing this year, there is a lot of stuff happening for many people. I have been hearing this everywhere in spiritual communities, especially where people are, of course, very aware of what is going on, that not only in our society we're facing many big challenges, and things that were hidden before now are obvious to people, and we can see the horrors happening out there, but also in people's personal lives. There have been many breakdowns and challenges, big struggles of different kinds, either health struggles, financial struggles, and many others. So it's a very intense year with the big solar flares. We just had two big ones yesterday and before yesterday, if I am not wrong, and we're going to continue having those that are affecting us in big ways. So we're going through quite an initiation at the personal level and also in society. So we're getting, yes, challenges, but also big opportunities to strengthen ourselves and our connection to source. So yes, it's intense, but I think that we can do this. We are equipped, we are prepared. We just need to discover that for ourselves.
Thank you, Koryanka. Such beautiful insight. And again, it points to the duality, behind all of it. The two sides of desire, for example, that you spoke to. And I guess the vulnerability it creates in us, depending on our vibrational alignment, perhaps, in all of those forces that are external to us, and how they impact us, and what we do to grow through the time that we're living through, instead of, devolving into anger, resentment, fear, and not to reject those things as part of the human experience as much as to embrace them, maybe for our growing, just as an idea.
Yeah, Koryanka, I really like your definition of desire, because that's something I always have a hard time explaining, because we're trying to basically move beyond our desires, right? But it's okay to enjoy a good meal. And so when you try to lock into the no desire thing, literally, then you're basically saying I'm not allowed to enjoy anything of this material experience, because you think it's coming from desire for physicality. But by putting this in the terms of, the ego's desire versus the soul desire, then, like, for example, intimacy, right? So you have a soul intimacy and then you have a lust intimacy. The latter is not as healthy, but the former is, it's what we need as humans. So I really appreciate that definition, because I've always had a difficult time explaining to people how they need to move beyond their desires, and that bifurcated it nicely for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. It reminds me of the line, the mind wants comfort, the soul wants growth. Others, Kavita, Michael, Michelle, Celicia, Deb, Greg, anybody?
Kavita.
I think Koryanka pretty much summed up everything that I feel about this subject. Very beautiful what she shared, and I can't say it better.
Kavita, are you in Thailand still?
Yeah, I'm still in Thailand.
Kavita,
It's every time we talk, it's like, where is Kavita today?
That's my question too. I
where's
never know.
Waldo?
Exactly.
Where's Waldo? Kavita, based on the poem that I read at the beginning and knowing the teachings that you have followed, how does that land with you? What I read about desire, the great enemy?
I know that's a very core teaching in Buddhism, particularly in Buddhism and also Hinduism. And for me, well, yeah, no, I agree with what Koryanka said. I really think that the Hindu and Buddhist traditions can be too self-denying or self-mortifying. I mean, the other religions can do that too, make people feel like sinners, make them feel that their natural desires are wrong and so on. And I don't think that's the right focus. You know, to distinguish whether your desires are coming from a good place, a positive place. I mean, you can have desire to help people, to bring transformation in the world. And there are many beautiful desires we can have, so we shouldn't castigate all desires. And other desires that can bring harm to other people or to oneself, those are the ones that we need to uproot. But this general thing about desire is the root of all evil, I think it's misconceived. I think most people really need to feel more love and more compassion for themselves, for their humanness, rather than beating themselves up for being sinners or having bad karma or having desires. Yeah.
Thank you, Kavita. That makes so much
And
sense.
I would just add something else, but uh, that again, I think this is part of the theme that I keep coming back to about the rise of feminine wisdom and feminine values and feminine approaches in spirituality and society. Because I think that masculine thing, that thing about fighting desire, is a very masculine thing, because men have a really hard time with their desire, especially sexual desire, and particularly men on a spiritual path that requires them to be celibate or curb their desire. That becomes their main focus, curbing particularly their sexual desire, or often their desire for power or domination or wealth or so on. So it's a very masculine thing, that focus on restraining one's desires. And I think the more feminine approach is really softening around ourselves, loving ourselves, having compassion for ourselves. And then that changes our whole orientation to the other and to the world. Then we come at the other and the world with love and softness and kindness. Rather than a struggle, a conflict, or a need to dominate or prove oneself better. So.
I agree with you. I think if you attack the desire and deny yourself of it, all you're doing,
Gets
in a
worse.
sense, you're making it more powerful. And
Exactly.
what I've always noticed in conflict, if you actually engage in conflict, you're strengthening your opponent as well, because they're hardening themselves, you're hardening yourself.
Exactly.
And so that's why you see in these belief systems where it is a celibate belief system, you see so much degeneracy sexually, of molestation and those sorts of things, because they're denying these things and they can't control them, they overwhelm them. And so you're right,
Exactly.
it's this balance of it. But I think it comes down to, it's like, okay, there's a fundamental physical desire, and you need to try to control that and then transmute it into more of a soul desire. And that's what I enjoyed Kuryanka's approach, because it's like, we are here for this human experience. You can't allow yourself to be over attached to it, because then it keeps you here, right? It keeps us stuck in this karmic reincarnation loop. And so for me, it's always this: how do I balance the knowing? Is this a soul desire? Is that feminine desire, or is it the material man desire that says, oh, I need to do this or this or this? And it's a constant struggle. When every day I meditate, I go through all my 7 deadly sins, and I look at how they every little reflection of those desires throughout the day that occur to me. If I see some good food, or I see a pretty girl or whatever, do I have any sort of fragment of any sort of desire that pops up? Do I even recognize it? And that's where I try to analyze this. Okay, where did that come from? Is that natural? Is that or is that just my ego again playing tricks on me? It's an interesting process, and haven't quite figured it out yet, but still working on it.
We all are, aren't we? We're all working
Yeah, we
on
are.
it. Thanks, Dan. Kuryanka?
Yes, I'd like to add something that popped in my mind as Dan was talking about feminine desire and masculine desire, Dan said. And that reminded me that I have learned along the way that there are differences between the feminine and masculine. Um, there is this really fine line between the true feminine and the true masculine, which are all about the divine and are expressions of the divine source. And there is the false feminine and the false masculine, where we are going into ego-based stuff only. So when Dan is talking about the divine feminine, I heard him talk about what he recognized as the divine feminine, the true divine feminine. But when you spoke about the masculine desire, that to me, I heard that's the false masculine desire. So it's not that the feminine is positive and the masculine is negative. It's not that the feminine is of the divine and the masculine is of the ego. What is happening is that we get often confused by the ego-based desires and thoughts. And then we believe that they come from one place or another, as if masculine was negative and feminine was positive. It's just that there is ego-based stuff hidden in both areas.
Excellent point. Thank you. No, you're absolutely right. It's just hard to discern.
Indeed. Michael, go ahead, please. You're muted, Michael.
That should be an eternal thing. A few words that jump out: desire, vibration, all of those kinds of things. Susan and I have been discussing this past week the concept that the Mother Earth is a mystery school. You live in a mystery school. I heard a comedian once talking about desire, and his expression was, you gotta wanna. You gotta wanna. So that's an expression of desire in relation to your commitment to wanting something. And so that wanting of something comes down to that differentiation between soul desire and material desire. It's no happenstance that the Inca, in their development of mystery schools and their development of the 3 steps to the raising of consciousness, and this is what it is, it's the raising of consciousness. So you have to wanna have the desire to raise your consciousness, as contrasted by the 7 egos expressed in the 7 sins that Dan spoke about: lust, anger, pride, envy, greed, laziness, and gluttony. So those 7 cardinal sins are an expression of the material ego. And when we mix up our desire into the material, that's where we get lost. We get lost because lust, anger, pride, envy, greed, laziness, and gluttony, we easily give into. We easily find ourselves in a state of anger, in a state of lust, in a state of pride, etc., etc., etc. So the elimination of the egos is what the Inca spoke about, and they spoke about transmutation. But transmutation. And transmutation is about changing the outlook. What is it that you want? Do you want to raise your consciousness living in the Mother Earth that is a mystery school? Can you accept that? Can you accept that what you live in is eternity? And if you live in eternity, then you have to hone your skills in relation to your understanding of your relationship to soul, your understanding to a relationship of self with a capital S. So it's a complete change because society reflects the 7 cardinal sins. Hollywood is lust and anger and pride and envy, and all of them come out in Hollywood. And then when we reflect, as Dan was saying, when he meditates, he reflects on the egos. He reflects on the 7 cardinal sins, and he evaluates self. None of us can be evaluated by others. No one here can say, oh, you're this percentage on lust and you're this percentage on anger. No, you are the only one who can do that. So that the enemy that we're talking about, who is the enemy? Well, we could say who is the enemy? The World Health Organization is the enemy. The WHO is taking steps to bring humanity into slavery. Well, they've been doing this for a long time. So you just change the name as to who's pushing that agenda. So that agenda has been pushed on humanity for a long time. What does that do? What it does is it reflects back to you the job that you have to do. And the job that you have to do is that if you can eliminate the egos that bring you into the state of what the enemy wants, and the enemy being the WHO, et cetera, the elite, off-planetary beings, you name it, you can put out any label on it you want, they're your teacher. They are your teacher. And so it's within this schoolhouse, this mystery school, known as Mother Earth. You know, it's interesting, Koryanka mentioned the solar flares. We've been driving up and down the valley here since we got back from Canada. We got back here about September 5th. And I've noticed, and I've remarked to Susan over and over again, the light. It's different. It's completely different. There's a haze. Somebody said, oh, that's because of the forest fires. Well, I haven't seen any forest fires, but I'm seeing this light that is different than what I've seen in my whole life. It's almost surreal. And so we're going through something, just as Koryanka said, we're going through a very big transmission, a very big transmutation. And so therefore it's up to us to hook on to that wagon, to jump aboard, to get aboard the change. And so that change has to come from within. And as I change from within, the enemy diminishes, no longer need for the teacher. The teacher goes away. And now I'm going the path of Parahamsa, Yogananda, Babaji, all of these Krishna, all of these personages who understood the work that needed to be done within in order to express God consciousness.
Michael, when you say the light has changed, I'm just curious. Like for me, I've noticed the sun is so much whiter than it was in the 70s. I remember in the 70s that it was more of a soft yellow, and now it's just like an LED white light that it just hurts to look at. It's so bright. Is that what you're referring to? I'm just curious.
Yes, that's what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the light that hits the Mother Earth.
Yeah.
The rays that are hitting the Mother Earth right now are charged with change. I mean, to me, that's what it means. It's charged with change. And so if I'm a hologram, I'm a walking hologram. And what is changing all around me. My aura is changing, everything. Every human being that's happening to them now. And that's an expression of the God consciousness that I'm speaking to, that is available to all of us. And then this desire is, I have to wanna participate in that. So there's an expression of desire that takes away from the idea that desire is all involved in material, ego-driven things. No, desire can be differentiated into two things, as Koryanka so aptly put it. So this is the return, yes, the return of the cosmic divine mother. And we sent that video around. I don't know if everybody got it. Susan would know.
I sent it to a few people, honey, but that's why I put it here.
So this video is fantastic on the return of the cosmic divine mother. Basically, it's more like a channeling that's being expressed, but it resonated deeply with me. And I came upon a mantra that is suggested by Babaji, by Yogananda, by all sorts of spiritual leaders. And it is said to be a calling in of the Divine Mother. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. So maybe Susan can put that into the chat line. But we find ourselves now, Susan and I, individually, saying that mantra over and over again to self during the day. So you find yourself going off track a little bit. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. So you're bringing yourself back into the consciousness of the divine cosmic mother. And that's what we're in. We are in this time of change. And if you have the desire to be with it, then you'll soar.
Thank you, Michael. Who else may like to contribute to the conversation?
Yes, I also saw that video that you sent it to me, Susan. I think it's absolutely beautiful. And that's what I'm referring to. And in the light of what's happening now, it kind of blasts away all those former ideas we've had of spirituality being a struggle with yourself. It's so dualistic. You're struggling with your desires. You're your own enemy. For me, that's so masculine and creates so much conflict within ourselves. And then, of course, then that conflict actually gets projected outwards into the kind of major conflicts we see in the world because of that inner struggle. When we're not resting in ourselves, we're not resting in the arms of the great mother who is always holding us. So I think what's happening now is we're being blasted with this light of the divine mother. They call it the mother light, actually, in Tibetan Buddhism. And it means the light of the supreme power, actually, that created this whole universe. And that's what I think is happening now. It's huge, it's intense, but it's the essence of love, of compassion, starting with love and compassion for ourselves and all the struggles we've been through, all the internal conflicts, external conflicts, letting that go and just surrendering to this love that wants to pour through us now and heal the world.
Thank you, Kavita. Such an uplifting message. And that's how I felt after watching that video. I felt really uplifted by it. And
Me too.
I'm sitting in my office and I sit here hours, many hours every week. And I just want to say, in the last minute, a hummingbird came right up to me at the window. That's never happened. Right at the window here. And we know what hummingbird is you know, a healing energy of joy, and really much like speaking also about our family, our invisible family supporting us. Hummingbird has many meanings, but I just wanted to share that because it was an unusual occurrence, to say the least.
It's a flying ohm.
A
The
flying
hummingbird.
ohm. Yeah, the flying ohm was here. Yeah. Yes, thank you, Kavita. Other thoughts? We've been, you know, really focusing on desire, and so saying that really it's self, it's personality. If we even want to entertain that we have an enemy, like Kavita says, it's so dualistic, right? Oh, this is my friend, this is my enemy, this is good for me, this is bad for me. That person's for me, that person's against me. You know, it's the game of the mind, it's the ego, it's the ego, edging God out, you know? And
The thing that I question is, so I've read the Bhagavad Gita. It's an absolutely beautiful book, and but they talk in there very openly about war. And it could be allegorical, but Shiva's the destroyer, right? And it's part of this cleansing that we go through, and we're really entering a war stage. And I was trained to be a warrior with my military background, and so I know how to do those things. I've fortunately never had to, and I hope never have to. But I do question I think the U.S. could be devolving into civil war, and so I always question. It's like, what is the right way to behave in these situations? Because there is a point where there is self-defense, and you need to stand up for yourself. Uh, I guess it's, in a sense, it's a magnification of egos. That's what war is, right? It takes all these egos and just explodes massive energy into them. But it's going to be an interesting situation that we're going to face, and I'm contemplative on it. I'm curious what's the appropriate karmic path through this mess that we're going to be walking through. So this is just these are just ponderings that I'm going through. I don't have an answer, but I'm just kind of curious anyone else's reflections on such topics. Mhm.
Greg,
Sue,
you unmuted?
I'd like to jump in. Yeah, thank you. I'd like to jump in with a thought. It's a little different than everything that we've talked about, but also very closely related, especially to ego. And I guess the thing I would say that's maybe not hated, but something you struggle, or that I struggle with anyway, is past and future. And in a sense, we beat ourselves up, as you said. Over things in the past. And that, I think, sometimes really affects the future as well. I'd love to get some thoughts on that from some of you. Should they be the enemy, or should they be the friend that has taught the lessons?
Well, I think you just answered the question right there.
Yeah.
The whole idea of living in the past and worrying about the future means you're not present. You can't be present when you're occupied with, as you say, beating yourself up. And every one of us has been guilty of reflecting on the past and beating ourselves up, and coming to the conclusion that that's who we are, and that's not who we are. We're not our experiences. Our experiences are our teachers. So reflecting on the past to gain insight into who you are will definitely reflect in the future. Reflecting on the past and beating yourself up is definitely going to reflect on the future, because where you are presently is in the past and in the future. And you have little room then to move within the present. And that's most people's difficulty when they're talking about bettering themselves. They're reflecting way too much on things that have happened in the past and that they're upset about. And they're way too worried and more concerned about, well, what's going to happen in the future, because look what happened to me in the past. So the change comes about with understanding that you have the ability to tame your mind. That's what it is. You got to be in a position to tame your mind so that in the end, your mind does not become the enemy, because then it really is the enemy if you're reflecting on the past, beating yourself up, and affecting the future by virtue of these negative thoughts. So one has to change the narrative that goes on in the head in relation to who you are, where you are, what are you doing, why are you here. There's a purpose to everything, and every individual has a purpose. And so as I begin to reflect on the things that make up the soul, then I'm going to transcend the thoughts about the past and thoughts about the future that keep me imprisoned in a mindset that won't grow.
Thank you for your question, Greg.
Thank you, Michael. That's great. I love the line, tame your mind.
Yeah, tame your mind. I mean, everybody has to. There's not one person here who's immune from this. Every person here has to tame their mind. Because otherwise it'll be like wild horses. The mind will just take off and we'll see you later. You know, count up how many thoughts a human being has on an average in a day. How many thoughts does each individual have in a day? A lot. And so it's within your mind that you bring the discipline. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. A tool to be used by you to assist in taming the mind. You know, you give yourself treats. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And I changed my mindset from shit, that son of a bitch did me in 2 years ago, and I hate it. Right? That's a big difference. It's all about being present. And the more present that you are, the more opportunity that you have to have those desires be soul desires, not material desires.
Thank you, Michael. And I'll just add to it, Greg, you know, really your question isn't at all different than the conversation, because it ends up to be ego, right? That's the part of us that wants to reflect on the past and, you know, all the thoughts about it and the fear of the future. That's directly ego. And again, bringing compassion to it. Like, this is the human makeup. So to be condemning one another or ourselves for that makeup, if you will. Basically, it's like we were given our lesson. You know, we came here, here's your curriculum. And so being mad at the curriculum, condemning it, rather than embracing it and have compassion for ourselves as we work through the curriculum, you know, together, presumably building more love in our hearts and compassion and understanding and joy and these attributes of the soul, you know, not the personality attributes. Those are my 2 cents. Yeah.
Yeah, the compassion helps release those old patterns.
That's the medicine, isn't it, Koryanka?
Yes,
Anita,
it's
sorry.
the medicine.
That's the medicine.
Yeah.
That's the medicine,
Yeah.
is pouring compassion. So, you know, it's these teachings on see your brother's or your sister's pain, you know, as we navigate life and we come upon things that aren't always easy. Do we see each other's pain and have compassion for the human condition and how we're experiencing it based on our life to this moment? Or do we, you know, condemn for, you know, how things show up in our lives that aren't comfortable? Again, back to, you know, the mind wants comfort and the soul wants to grow, you know. And how do you, you know, we're in our extended family, we're dealing with a huge amount of loss through genocide at the moment, and it's exceptionally painful on a human level, on a family level, to deal with the amount of loss that is happening in our extended family. And My only survival through it is to meditate deeply on the journey of the soul and accepting, embracing the things I don't know that I'm witnessing on the planet. To be angry about it and want it to be different than it is would be natural, perhaps for some and for me and at times. And it doesn't bring me peace. It doesn't soften my suffering. And so I seek to soften mine and others through compassion for my thoughts about what's happening in the world. And it's
Mm.
difficult.
Compassion is another form of love. It's an expression of love. And that's what we are learning. It's an ultimate lesson to learn to love. And when we speak about love, it sounds easy in theory. It can be easy to love certain people and situations, but there are many life experiences and many people who often are not easy to love. And that's where we need to find our way through and learn how to love. You were talking about life experiences in the family, how it would be easy to wish that none of that was happening. But that is really resistance. When we resist that which we don't like, we don't want, which is difficult for us, the struggle, we resist the struggle, that just makes it so much harder. That is when it becomes a real battle. But if we learn to accept what is happening at present, embrace it, give it love, either in the way of compassion or in any other way, then it's way easier to go through the experience and we soften up the experience for ourselves and we ultimately can transform it into the medicine for us, into the strength, newfound abilities, skills, and also the reconnection with the soul happens in those experiences. So I agree with that, that acceptance is key.
Thank you, Koryanka. And it's kind of like the line, right? It has to start with you. So if you have no self-compassion, if you're so hard on yourself, if you're, in this game of, it's got to be better, I've got to do this, I'm bad, I'm wrong, all of that game that goes on in the mind, how do you show up compassionate for anybody else if this is how you are? So we know the work is always on self, right? This is where it begins. And then we show up with more love and healing and compassion for others.
You know that word enemy is not far off the word enema. Just saying. Just saying.
Wow, I just love that statement. And I have to point out that, Michael, you are wearing that, I believe is white t-shirt. And I'm looking at the white buffalo on your side behind you. And I cannot help but see that you look like a team, the white buffalo and you kind of like reflect each other back. And so every word that you say, I know you're channeling white buffalo medicine.
Thank you. You're right.
Thank you,
You're absolutely
Koryanka, for that observation. I'd like to read what Deb wrote in the chat. The discussion today on our struggles of the ego can be only judged by oneself. It is our way to learn to be on the spiritual path. It is hard to not judge Trump, who is so ego-based narcissist. How can we show compassion for someone who could get into power, who affects so many people's lives? Great question, Deb. I have some thoughts, but I'll ask the audience first.
well. I can say that Trump in essence is a reflection of what's wrong with society. That's why he's got so many followers. He's got so many followers because he's attracting the base consciousness. It's like if you went out and said, okay, well, what does the average guy want? He wants a dog, a pickup truck, and a beer. And Trump attracts that. He attracts that mindset, which is, when you say compassion, they'll call you an idiot because from their perspective, masculinity is what rules. Judging is the key here. The word judgment And when we judge others, which is the most facile thing to do. I mean, you can observe people and their behavior and think, oh, that stupid son of a bitch, da 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 da. And yet not realize that it's within us, that we're spotting something within us. So there's a level of ignorance that allows for someone like Trump to get into power. That level of ignorance is reflected in the voters. Now, I'm of the view that there hasn't been an honest election in the United States for many years. I'm of the view that they're picked. I'm of the view that, you know, this is all a big show in relation to election. They already know who's going into the White House. And so therefore you're watching a game of Monopoly. And when you're watching the game of Monopoly, it's very difficult not to judge. But if I had to walk a mile in Trump's shoes, they wouldn't fit, but that doesn't matter. If I had to walk a mile in his shoes, what would I reflect upon as his being? Is there anything within him that is salvageable on the soul level? And you'd have to say yes, but I haven't seen it. We're not seeing it. So unfortunately, you know, you're stuck with what we got. The United States is stuck with two parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, who there's no difference, really. You can say, I'm left, I'm right. Doesn't matter. None of them want anything to do with helping the people. It's all about power and control and domination. That's all it's been. That's why it's falling apart. That's why it's disintegrating. That's why the light is shining on the Mother Earth to bring about the transformation that we can't bring about. And it's the ancestors are arranging things.
Sue, what were you going to add?
Well, I was just going to say that, much like what Michael said, you know, Trump's an easy one to judge, isn't he, for people who have thoughts on his approach, we'll call it, to all of this. And so the mind likes to judge, and the mind has fear of his behavior, and therefore it'll mean this, and therefore it'll mean this, and that this is the work of the ego to go. And then when this happens, and then it'll mean this, and it'll mean, and this will be the impact if, you know, this will be the impact for Canadians when this happens in the States, and this will be the impact for this country because of the view of the mind just loves this. And so I agree with Michael. I think that it's a divine orchestration, all of it, and it's a divine mirror for us to look at what needs to be healed. And I think that the work is to not mind, is to do your work. We know we have plenty of it. And to, when I say not mind, I don't mean to say you don't have a voice or you don't make choices and decisions that feel right for you in relation to what's happening on the world stage. And to not mind, I think, is to bring compassion to the thoughts we have about politics and who's in charge. Because if I lived in some remote part of, say I lived in the highlands of Peru, I wouldn't even know, I may not even know who Donald Trump is or any of these shenanigans that are going on politically. And so, you know, that mind of that person isn't being fed by any of this. And so their peace is likely disrupted by other things, and my peace could be disrupted by politics. And so I just think it's all part of the smorgasbord that we've been delivered up in our curriculum in Earth School, in this mystery school. And, you know, our conversation about this Earth School being a mystery school for me is to wake up every day knowing I'm in a mystery, and I'm going to love maybe things that happen. I'm going to be surprised. I may be sad. I may be all of it. It's part of being in the mystery. And I want to embrace it and be open to what it's the teacher for me. Yeah, those are my thoughts. Thanks for asking, Greg. We are at the top of the hour, and it's been a delightful conversation this morning. So I would like to share the screen and go to the Soul School Network website and ask you to visit it at your leisure, and perhaps visit some of the websites, perhaps Kavita, Koryanka, and also our donate button is there for anybody who may like to contribute to the work that we're doing. And I would ask Michael if he would like to, he could do the pray out for the morning. And I just have to share, and I think there we go. No, sorry, one moment while I get the right screen handy. Again, as I said at the beginning, if we welcome your feedback, your thoughts, ideas for guest speakers, that would be terrific. So please do reach out to us. And here is the mantra of unification. Michael, please.
Thank you. Mantra of unification. The souls of all are one, and I am one with them. I seek to love, not hate. I seek to serve and not exact due service. I seek to heal, not hurt. Let pain bring due reward of light and love. Let the soul control the outer form and life and all events, and bring to light the love that underlies the happenings of the time. Let vision come and insight. Let the future stand revealed. Let inner union demonstrate and outer cleavages be gone. Let love prevail. Let all people love. Wirakocha.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you to everybody for being here today. Much love to all of you. Hope to see you in a couple of weeks. Take care. Bye.